was trying to say is welcome. And anybody, if you're new to GoToWebinar, over in your control panel, you should see a questions area. And you can ask questions in there or in the chat area, either. And Thomas or Mike or one of the team will watch those and answer and bring them, and I'll watch them as well. And the other thing too is if you have any questions, just feel free to, we'll answer them as we go. You don't have to save them to the end or anything like that. I love questions. Love to answer them as we go in through here. And hopefully, that's a big part of the webinar that we like to do, is just kind of get the questions and suggestions from you guys, as well as share with you what's going on for GetFiveStars and what some of the new things are that we're working on. All right, so my name is Don Campbell. I'm the CEO and co-founder of GetFiveStars, and many of you know other fine members of our team like Mike or Aaron or Thomas, work with Josh or Michael. We've got a exciting, we're excited to hear from you guys, so that's why we're doing these webinars, and hopefully you're interacting with us on the live chat, or else in support as well. So in the last webinar, what we covered, we talked about customer generated content. We talked a lot about the testimonials widget, how to set it up, some new features that we've added to the testimonials widget. We talked about responding to reviews and some review stars best practices and some new features. So for example, we talked about the new, creating content on the website and how important that is, not only the customer's feedback and sharing that on your website, but your responses to that and how it's marked up in schema.org and how it's just really good content for you guys to share and for Google to crawl. We also talked about the testimonials badge. That was a new feature that links to the testimonials widget, and just kind of reviewing that, because I want to make sure if you guys don't have this set up, it's a huge benefit. Make sure you contact us so we can help you get it set up on your website. So we talked about those things and some other features. This time I would like to cover what we've been working on since then. We're always adding new things, and our goal is to constantly be bringing you more value to to your business from using GetFiveStars, and also some pro tips on things we've found and things that the industry experts share on how to get your emails opened, and some things that are going on with mobile. Also going to talk a little bit about the Net Promoter Score, and then love to hear your questions and suggestions as well. So I just did a sound check right before this. Everyone could hear me. Hopefully everybody's seeing my screen fine. Just wanted to do that before we jump into it. Thomas says, all good. Great. Sounds good. So here we go. What I want to do first is show some new features to you guys, some things I'm excited we've been working on. And one of those is, there were a lot of requests for this, and then we also saw the need. It's called the Visual Email Editor. And the idea is, in the current GetFiveStars, the email template editor looks like this. It has a space for the subject, has an email body, it has some tags that you can put in there that will replace with different things, which is, but in order to see it, you can't really see exactly what it's going to look like unless you send a test to yourself. And what we found is, just intuitively, people want to see more visually, like, what is this going to look like as they're putting it together? And so we've been working on that, and it's on our test server right now. This is not in production yet, but it's going to be very, very soon, probably within the next week. It'll be live. But we have a visual email template editor. And what it allows you to do is visually see what your feedback request email is going to look like, or what the responses are going to look like. Any of your emails, you can basically see them like this, and then you can just hover over a section to change it. I'm just going to show you a real quick demo. This is what it looks like. So here we are looking at, basically I'm in settings. I went to settings, email templates, right? And I'm looking here at the feedback request email. And this is what the template looks like. And what I can do is say, well, I want to change the subject. I just hover over and it allows me to edit. Same thing with the logo. I just hover over a section. I can edit the body. I can edit what the image is on the right-hand side. So much more intuitive than, uploading images and sending test emails to yourself. And so when I edit the body, I still have the ability to put tags and everything in there. But I can edit this, and then I can do things. We have some basic things like bold, italics, You can add hyperlinks, which we've done here, and you can see like I can actually add links into my email if I want to. It just gives, these are things that you guys have asked for. And in terms of flexibility inside of the email, and then also just, the ability to visually see, here you can see the changes I made, the bold and the italics here. Here's that hyperlink so that you can check it out. And then, we just want people to be really comfortable with the email that's going to go out as like you would expect. And then you can see this is for the positive feedback email as well, the negative feedback email, and it's for all these. It's also for the feedback settings as well. So it's really, it really helps, how this all works. Mike was saying, can you edit the area under the map? So no, this area here, so if I go back, let me just show you, Mike brought up a really good question here. He's saying this area under the map. Here I can change the image. A lot of business owners put their picture here. By default, we put a map there. But a lot of people want to put their picture. This content right here is not editable. It's just pulled. The idea here was to always just show the business information. Like, okay, here's the name of the business, so that there's no question, maybe you didn't include a logo, or the logo in this, like in this case, it's not explanatory of what it doesn't say what the business is. So I want to make sure everyone's super clear and understands, okay, this feedback request is coming from Santa Cruz Express. And here's the address and the phone number. So this data is sort of pre-filled based on your business information. But you can change the image or anything in the body. You can change the logo, and you can change the email subject as well. So great. So excited about that one. I hope that looks good to you guys. I'd love to hear your feedback on it. That's an area. That's an area that we're going to continue to innovate. We now that we have this visual, we're going to be adding this to other areas of the product as well. So for example, the testimonials widget and other places like that. We're also working on a new getting started wizard that will show up in there. It's just going to simplify the interface, I think. So the other thing we've been working on is, as you know, we use schema.org markup for the review content that goes into the testimonials widget. The other thing we're doing is we're using schema.org to categorize businesses so that we can start sharing information with you about other businesses in your industry. So for example, if you were a chiropractor and you wanted to know, well, gee, I wonder how many reviews or how much feedback that other chiropractors are getting, or I wonder what the average net promoter score is for a chiropractor. Well, we want to be able to give you those reports. We don't have them in the product today, but it's a big part of our plans is to give you benchmark information like that. Not against a specific chiropractor, but against the industry. Like, so if I'm this type of a business, how are other businesses doing? How am I compared to these other businesses? And schema.org is important for a number of reasons, right? Is it provides a standard way to mark up this. Google crawls and understands. They crawl and understand schema.org markup. So it provides basically a way, it provides structured data on your website, right? Like things like HTML and CSS are very difficult for crawlers to parse through because they're technically not structured data. Schema.org brings structured data, and it can help you in a number of ways. It can help you with SEO. It can help you just identifying your website and what type of data is on your website. And so one of the challenges we've had, though, is that we're using the business types. Actually, I'm going to back up 2 slides. This thing, organization, local business. Well, schema.org provides a number of business types, but what we found is for a lot of you, I mean, the business types that they provide just aren't very robust. There are a whole bunch of them are missing. So for example, like I mentioned chiropractors earlier, so many of our customers are chiropractors and insurance agents and different types of businesses that just weren't properly represented in the schema. So what we did is we worked with an expert to go in and augment that schema so that we could have lots of different types of businesses. And we actually did a review of all of the businesses in our database, and we went through them and made sure that we had proper categories for all of them. So it actually took us a lot of time, but what's going to happen now is we're going to be able to give you a lot better data about your business. So this is a screenshot, by the way, from your business details where you can choose what type of business you are. We asked this on setup as well. A lot of people tried to get close, but what would happen is people would go in and they would say, oh, well, I'm this kind of a business, and they wouldn't find it in the list, and they would just kind of give up, which is what I would do too. And so we went back and augmented the schema so that lots and lots of these types are available. So more to come on this. I just want to let you know we did this. We not only have more options when you add a new business now to be able to categorize it correctly, but we also went back and recategorized businesses that missed out and weren't categorized so that we can then provide you with good aggregate data. So I just want to clarify too, we're not sharing data about your business with another business. We would only share aggregate data, like, the average number of email opens for chiropractors is this, or the average net promoter score for florists looks like this. Okay. So that's what we're planning to do. And yeah, excited about that. Another thing we've been working on, one of our themes in our product, which you've heard me talk about in previous webinars, or maybe you heard Aaron talk about it, is that we are trying to make it as easy as possible for you to connect with customers. In a lot of cases, you don't have their email addresses or phone numbers. How do you get through to them? So we've got things like the kiosk mode, which we've talked about. We have the ability to integrate with different systems. We have the ability to upload a list of email addresses. A new one that we're experimenting with now is we developed some software to work with this port. It's called the Captive Wi-Fi Portal. And what this does, it allows you to, this is what it looks like. It's basically a little device that you would plug into a business would plug into their existing, maybe their Comcast or, whatever their internet looks like. They just would turn it on and plug it in, and we would configure it, and it would allow you to start to capture. Well, basically, it allows you to give free Wi-Fi to a to your customers, right? Or whoever the business's customers are. You could give them free Wi-Fi. And optionally, you could provide a special offer and say, hey, if you give us your email address, we'll give you a free appetizer or something like that. And so in this case, it's a way to capture these email addresses so that you can follow up afterward and ask for feedback and see how you did, right? So this is what we're trying to do, is make this automated. So if you capture an email address using this, it automatically adds it to your dashboard and get 5 stars. So it's a nice way to connect with your customers, and then also to provide to automate that follow-up process. So the way that it works is we've got the Wi-Fi portal. We have a special offer. I'll show you a screenshot of that in a moment. It captures the email address, and then it automatically turns into a feedback request inside of Get 5 Stars. So this is something that we are just now testing with a few businesses. And we'll let you know when when it's ready to roll out. So what it looks like is this: the customer comes in, they see the Wi-Fi network. In this case, it's called GFS Wi-Fi Free Access. You can name it something different, but they basically see the Wi-Fi network, and then the first screen it prompts them with is to say, "Hey, welcome to." I've kind of put two phones here because you'd have to scroll down to see the whole thing, but it says, "Hey, welcome to our free Wi-Fi. If there's a free appetizer, just ask your server about it." And choose any appetizer on the menu. And then all you need to do is put in your email address, first name, last name, and hit submit. You'll see there's a terms of service there that says, hey, we're only going to use this email for follow-up for this visit. We're not selling your email addresses or anything like that. You can see that they can also skip this step if they don't want to provide, if they don't want the special offer, they don't care about it, and they don't want to provide an email address, they can just hit skip. And then the next step is it takes them to a thank you screen that says, hey, thank you very much. We'll contact you soon with your offer. The business owner gets an email that someone redeemed the offer. And then when they press connect, the next screen on the right, they automatically are on the Wi-Fi network. And so now it's just a nice little service. I've noticed I was at a restaurant a couple months ago in downtown Campbell, and I was kind of busy working on some stuff, wanted to grab some lunch, and I remember going in, and I feel this a lot. I go, man, I hope they have good Wi-Fi here. Now, I mean, if you go to a Starbucks, of course they're going to have Wi-Fi, but a lot of other places it's hit or miss, right? And so I went in and I turned on my laptop and I saw I saw the restaurant's name, said free Wi-Fi, and then I jumped on it and it had a nice little flow that said, hey, here's some free Wi-Fi. It was really a pleasure. I mean, it was really nice because I'm waiting for my dinner or for my lunch. I mean, then I could work on my laptop a little bit, or some people do this on their phone or their tablet. So anyway, it's a nice perk to offer, and it's a way to automate that email collection. So I'm curious, right now, one of the things that we're trying to figure out is, well, what kinds of businesses would this be good for? And we're thinking, obviously restaurants. In a lot of cases, they might already have a free Wi-Fi of some kind, but they don't have the ability to connect it with a special offer and collect the email address and get stats on that. So this is what we're trying to do, is say, okay, that's fine if you have free Wi-Fi already, but just put this in front of it and you can capture that information and automate the feedback process. So I'm thinking, restaurants would be good. We've talked about pretty much any type of a business that has a waiting area, like maybe an auto repair shop, where people have to wait for things. It'd be nice to have something like that. That is saying chiropractors would do this. He thinks, or they could offer like a free massage or something like that, or and then he thinks that that would be good because sometimes people are waiting. So even if you're only waiting for a few minutes, it's kind of nice to jump on, on check your email or the news or whatever. And sometimes, you have cell service, or sometimes it's spotty, and it's great. Other times, if you're there for longer, like sometimes I'll bring my laptop with me if I know I'm gonna be waiting for my car for an hour or two, right? So anyway, that's the idea behind it. Hopefully you guys will see more of this. What we're doing now is we're testing it out. We have it built and working. We're testing it with a number of locations. And depending on how this works out, we'll be rolling it into the product itself and to get 5 stars, so you'll be able to see it in the back end and everything. Um, yeah, so that hopefully that's interesting. Oh, and by the way, here's how you define the offer. So in the back end, you would go in and you'd give the offer a title, a description, and then the email of who should be notified when the customer requests the offer. It's pretty simple. And then you can upload a photo. Very straightforward. There's also a statistics tab up here where I can look at the stats, and it shows me if people are repeat visitors, how many times they come back, things like that. All right. Another feature that we added was we added an online reviews API. This is I want to. There's a distinction. Before, we had an API where you could get your testimonials, so you could say, hey, for this business, get me a list of testimonials, and we've got a number of customers who use that, especially larger customers who might have their own custom content management system, right? And they don't want to use our widget because they have a very, very specific place or look and feel that they want to deal with. So they'll use our API and they'll get the testimonials back. But what we weren't allowing is for you to say, okay, show me the Google reviews for this business, or the Yelp or the Facebook reviews. And so now we have that as well, that you can call our API and say, well, show me the Google reviews for this business. And so that it was a new API we just launched recently. May or may not be interesting to you, depending on what you're doing, but we did have a number of people that were asking for this. And it also sets us up for some other features we're adding to the product soon. All right. Another thing too is that we talked at the last webinar about our QuickBooks online integration, but what's really cool is we're building out this. The way we're doing that integration is through a service called Zapier. And what's cool about it is that Zapier has over 500 apps. And so it allows you to do no code integrations with any of those apps. So now we can integrate Get5Stars with something like 500 different apps where something happens in an app. So for example, with MailChimp, if somebody new gets added to your email list, they can automatically get a feedback request and get 5 stars. Or, we talked about QuickBooks Online, we talked about FreshBooks. There are a number of other services, and this works with any of them. So we're excited about that. We as part of the process to get listed in the global directory for Zapier, you need to have at least 10 people using your integration, and actually using it, and they want to make sure you've worked out the bugs and stuff like that. And so we've passed that threshold now, so we're very excited. We're in the process of getting added to. So right now we can send out like a private link to someone, to anybody, to try it out and to use it, but we're going to be listed in the global directory We're in the process of that right now. It's probably going to be another week or two before that process is over. But I'm excited about that because then it's just easy. You go in there into Zapier and you can find Get5Stars and you just add it. If any of you want to try this and use this integration before then, just email us at support@get5stars.com and we'll send you the private invite link. So, but that was kind of a big deal for us to be listed in the global directory with Zapier. So now there'll be 501 apps there. All right. So another thing I wanted to share with you guys was this kind of what we're calling a pro tip about email open rates. So one of the things that is nice about the fact, like when you're using Get5Stars, you're sending emails to existing customers, right? It's not like you're sending emails out of the blue to somebody you don't know. It's always to someone who's bought something from you or who you're interacting with, or uses your services or your products. But depending on how recently you've worked with them and other factors, and just the fact that people's email boxes are full, um, it's a challenge to get the email open rate. We get a pretty good email open rate. I think it's in the high 40s. I think it's around 47% on average, which is good. But one of the things I want to talk about was mobile. There were a few articles that Mike we were researching recently about this, and we found out that 51% of email is open on a mobile device. So that number's higher than I thought. Mobile continues to surprise me. I think I get it, and then I keep turning around going, "Wow, this is really a big deal." So I need to keep keep that top of mind. Obviously, all of Get5Stars is responsive and it works on mobile devices seamlessly, but there are always just new little nooks and crannies of things. And so this is one of the things I wanted to share with you. So 51% of email is open on a mobile device. So it's a big number. Now, so that begs the question, what does your email look like on a mobile device, right? It's important to know that. So you need to think about when your feedback request goes out, what is going to happen? So that people are going to open it. Like, what does it look like on there? Is the subject line chopped? Is this other area chopped? And one of the things that we found out was there are some guidelines for how long you want your subject line to be. And then there's also this area in the email called the pre-header text. So I wanted to show you those because it might be able to help you with how you title your feedback requests. So this thank you for visiting Score Clinic. That is an example of a subject. That's the email subject. And you need to have a subject that is, oh geez, I think it's third. It's funny, I don't have, I'm kind of locked in here with my screen in the presentation mode, and I'm forgetting now what the limit was. I think it's 35 characters. You want to try to keep your email subject line to 35 characters or less so that it doesn't get cut off. And it depends. This is on iOS in the Mail app, but it depends on whether you're on an Android and you're in Gmail, or there are obviously different platforms for that. So I've got a couple of links to the articles here that we that we pulled this information from. We'll make sure to share that info. Or else if Mike or Thomas, if you can look at and just let me know if you can find those, that would be great. Yeah, so it was 35 characters for the subject. And now this other, if you look over to the right, the other thing that's highlighted, this is like the first line in the email, and it's called, I didn't know about this until recently, it's called the pre-header text. And that needs to be between, I think 40 and 50 characters max. And basically you can just test it, right? Just keep it, kind of test it out. And what's nice is that shows up when people are scanning the emails before they've even opened the email. And so it's important that you think about what that pre-header text says. And you make sure it doesn't get clipped off. So you need to respect those guidelines in terms of the length. And then you also need to think about, what does it say? It should be like a call to action of some kind so that people can see what this email is about. Okay, see, it's from Score Clinic. It's thank you for visiting is the subject, and would you leave us your feedback? So very actionable sort of feedback. And so what we did is kind of put together some brainstorms. So first of all, there's this little tool here. Oh, darn it. It's called Car Counter, CHAR counter.com. that will allow you to quickly measure. And there are other tools like that on the web. This is just the one that I like because it's pretty clean and simple. So you can test it out. You can put in, like, you see, would you leave us your feedback? I put that in there, and it's 33 characters. So it's an easy way for me to quickly understand how long this stuff is. And it brainstormed a few subjects and pre-header combinations that you might be able to use. And by the way, the default pre-header that comes in our email templates for Get5Stars is a little bit long, and so we're going to be revising those in the product based on this information. And as we were doing that research, I thought, wow, this would just be great for everybody to know. So I thought, why not talk about it on the webinar so that you guys know about it if you've got custom subjects in your feedback requests. So here are a few examples of what you could put. So for a subject, you could say thank you. I've read in various different email best practices guides that just a simple thank you in the subject attracts people's attention. And then the pre-header could say, would you leave us your feedback? And that's 33 characters, so it's below the 40 character recommendation. The next subject possibility to be thank you from, and then your business name. In this case, Peachtree Farms, your business might be longer than that, but that's a reasonable sized business name. That's still only 30 characters in the subject. And then the pre-header, how was your experience with us? Another potential subject, maybe the subject was, how was your experience with us? And then the pre-header says, your feedback helps us to serve you better. So you can experiment with these based on your type of a business. My main point is, think about that concept of the pre-header that shows up, because remember, that shows up, right here. It shows up right underneath the subject. And even before someone opens the email, so it's a good opportunity to have some sort of a call to action in there. So, and then Ed's asking, only on iOS, not Android. No, this same concept holds on all of the mobile devices. It's just that the character counts are differ just a little bit, and that's why these guidelines, which embarrassingly I didn't put on the slide. I'll make sure you get those guidelines. They're in our blog post, by the way. So in fact, I can tell you real quick if I just jump over to the blog post. So this blog post, which I'll put in the chat window right now, actually, just so you have access to it. This has the numbers. It has Litmus, which is the source for that 51% of emails they did a survey. And then the subject line should be 35 characters or less. And then the pre-header should be 40 to 50 characters. And so these are the actual numbers, anyway, that if you want those exact guidelines. And the reason for those guidelines is that they looked at it on different mobile devices, and they said if you stay within this range, then it works on pretty much all the devices. It would work on most email clients in iOS and Android. And so that's kind of the basis for those guidelines. Any other questions about that? Hopefully that's a helpful tip for you guys. I know most of the people I've talked to about this hadn't heard of that pre-header text before, so I'm hoping that's good. Great. Now, the other thing I want to talk about a little bit is Net Promoter Score. So this is something that we, as you know, if you're, obviously as a Get5Stars customer, you care about this, but I wanted to dive into it just a little bit. Before we do, though, let me just back up real quick. On the captive Wi-Fi portal, I saw a lot of, gosh, I'm jumping way back now. I saw a lot of comments in there about people who are interested in this. Just let us know if you want to beta this. Let us know. We're looking for a few more. I feel like it's really running pretty smoothly right now, but like I said, we're just really trying to identify the right types of businesses that would benefit from this. So if you have a business that you think might be interesting, let us know. All right, and then we might be able to get you a device and check it all out. All right, so let me jump towards a Net Promoter. So the Net Promoter Score, reason I just want to talk about this briefly, because it's a subject that I find people understand. A lot of people haven't ever heard of it. I'm sure you guys have. And then people who have heard about it, it's hard to explain to other people. So I wanted to just share with you a little bit about it and the benefits of it, since we use it throughout our system. So the Net Promoter Score is sometimes called the ultimate question, and is based on some research by Fred Reichheld and Satmetrics. and Bain and Company, who own the trademark for it, and they basically did a whole bunch of research a number of years ago about surveys and trying to understand, for corporate surveys, how do I find out if my customers are happy and what should I ask them? And most of the surveys you take are these long drawn out affairs that people, even if they offer you a gift card, it's hard to finish them because they take like 15 minutes. And they found a really interesting, um, a really interesting discovery, and that is this one question matters, gives you about 80% or more of the value of any survey. And that question is the ultimate question. It's how did you feel? How likely is it that you would recommend our company to a friend or a colleague? And then based on that answer, you can go to work figuring out what's going on with your customers. And so the net promoter score is on a 0 to 10 scale. And the way it works is you capture this stat from lots of your customers, and the ones that responded with a 9 or a 10 are promoters. They're probably recommending you to their family and friends. They're probably telling other people about you. 7 or an 8 are passive, meaning they're not thrilled, but they're not unhappy. They're just kind of in the middle. And then detractors are 6 and below, where they're unhappy at different levels. At those lower scores, they're probably even saying they might even be saying bad things about you. And so the net promoter score is basically the percentage of promoters minus the percentage of detractors, and you come up with a score. And even a lot of big companies use this. So Apple and Google and all these big companies, they use this to measure their health of their customer relationships, right? And so it's a popular metric, but for small businesses, they didn't have a way to necessarily do that. That's what we're trying to help with. Um, and really, you can use this score to improve the business in a number of ways. I mean, number one, as we said, it's just a simple way to measure customer satisfaction. Number two, it helps you understand who your promoters are. I mean, it's kind of powerful to know, oh, wow, here are the people that are telling other people about me. What else can I do for them, right? How can I thank them? They're probably giving me new customers. And so make sure you take care of those people, right? And a lot of businesses don't know who they are. And this allows you, using a system like GetFiveStars allows you to identify them, know who they are. It also will help you identify what is causing a passive experience to improve. So as you get these passive scores and you capture the reason, then there might be. I've seen this over and over again. We deal with so many businesses, a lot of good businesses who are, they're going out of their way for their customers. They feel like their customers are happy, but there are little things that they may not know about that are just messed up in their company. Just little communication things sometimes, or whatever, that they could easily tweak and fix, that they just never knew about. And so a lot of times, you know, you'll uncover things. There was one example of an insurance agent who got a he got some feedback from a customer that was unhappy, and it turned out he had gone on vacation just for a short, like a maybe 3 or 4 day weekend, and he was out. And the customer had an issue and called, and something was happening with his he didn't have a service to call back, or even to let him know he was on vacation. Somehow they didn't have a good process in the office to say, hey, we're out today. Here's who you can call to get more information. And so this customer was left hanging over the weekend. I think they called on a Friday, and then they didn't get an answer or anything back on Friday, and then they had to wait all weekend long, and they were upset. So when the feedback request came out, the customer told them and said, look, I wasn't happy because I had sort of like a minor emergency here. I needed to talk to you. I called and nobody called me back. And so that allowed him to say, okay, talk to his staff and say, let's make sure that whenever, we take a break, or, we're not here, we have to make sure that we have a voicemail that lets people know that, and that they have an alternate person they can call. And so it's a little thing, right? And he didn't lose the customer over it, because he was able to get back to them and explain to them what happened. So anyway, there are lots and lots of scenarios like that we see where people, just little misunderstandings. And so, um, capturing this information allows you to identify those and deal with them. And then the other benefit is just to be able to capture detractors, people who are upset. And before you lose them or they leave you a negative review, if you're asking them this question, you're going to understand what happened and have a chance to save that customer. And so, in our view, this stuff is more important even than the online reviews. It's just a big deal to be able to ask this question, get some detail behind it, understand where you're at with your customers, and take care of them, right? And improve the business over time. And what we've seen is that businesses that we work with that have a higher net promoter score, they get more online reviews anyway. So if you take a very rough average in a tough industry and you look at some averages, you say you send out 100 emails, 100 feedback requests, you get 47 opens, 11 feedbacks, and typically 9 of which are very positive, and then 1 online review. That's the average. Now, for businesses in our system that have a net promoter score of 80 or higher, and by the way, Thomas posted a link on how NPS is actually calculated. He posted it in the chat window. Businesses that have an NPS score of 80 or higher, and this is based on some work that Mike Blumenthal did, they get 2.5 reviews per 100, and businesses with a lower NPS score get less than 1. So we found that super interesting. Businesses that have high net promoter scores, and that's because they've asked for feedback, they've identified who their really happy customers are and asked them for online reviews, and they've also discovered problems and issues and fixed them and saved customers, which many times turn into promoters because they know you're listening. And I think that's a really important sort of distinction there, or I'm sorry, it's an important benefit of just tracking this metric, understanding what's going on. I read a quote in a book that I'm reading now that just said, look, at basing level, everyone just wants to feel like they matter, right? And I think if you think about it in your life, that's just true of everyone, right? Is we all want to feel like we matter, and listening to your customers shows that they matter, right? Just asking them for feedback and listening. And so that's why businesses with a higher net promoter score, they're getting those online reviews naturally. So anyway, that's why we think this is such an important metric. All right. So any questions about this, about anything we talked about today? I just wanted to, give you guys a one last thing, and because this came up as a question, I kind of skipped over it. If I go back to the email stuff we talked about with the pre-header text, I wanted to show you, so this here I'm showing the subject on the left, and on the right I have highlighted the pre-header text. Just wanted to show you in the in GetFiveStars where you'd change that stuff. So you'd go to settings and you go to email templates, which is here, and literally the subject is right here. You just edit the subject. This is with the new visual editor. I'll show you with the current product as well. And then the pre-header text is literally the first line of the email. So in many cases, you're going to put it right here. And so it's kind of seems a little strange to have that as the first line, but I think it's important. It's still, you can still have the customer salutation below that if you want. But I like it because on mobile devices, as we saw, it allows that line call to action to show up when people are scanning the email. So whatever you decide to be your sort of call to action for the pre-header text, that's where you would put it. Now, let me just show you real quickly how that looks in the current product before you get the new visual editor, which is coming really soon. Anyway, I'm going to go into a location here and show you in the email templates. So, this is the subject, and then the pre-header would be right here. So if you wanted to take advantage of that, I just wanted to show you exactly where you would make those changes. All right, so talked about net promoter score. That's what I've got for today. Any questions that you guys have? Any suggestions? We're always, wide open to suggestions. Colin is asking, do you guys support text messaging for review collection? Colin, we are working on that. So that's a feature that we're building out right now, so that that'd be an option. And we were planning to do that is for a given customer, we want to give them a communication preference where they could say, I'd rather be contacted by email or by SMS. And then of course, within that SMS flow would be all the typical ability to opt out, you probably have gotten text messages for things like appointment reminders in the past, or if you've used AT&T, if you have AT&T cell phone service and you call them for support, you'll see that they're following up with a text message. And that is something you need to have all of the opt-out stuff around it as well to make it compliant, so that, to make it non-spam compliant. James is asking, is there a way to do the free Wi-Fi integration without the hardware? So here's the thing. We had to write some code um, for the specific hardware device, but so right now you need the hardware, but you need that little box. But you know, let us know what you have in mind, because we've obviously figured it out. So, down the road, I can imagine. Let's put it this way: the software we wrote isn't necessarily specific to that piece of hardware. It's just the way that it's configured. So, as of right now, the answer is yes. You have to use the. Uh, I'm sorry. The answer to your question is no. You have to use this particular hardware, but we can talk about that. Yeah. All right. So, anything else before we wrap? I appreciate you guys taking the time. We're going to also publish our release notes next week. So the first week of every month, we'll be posting our release notes. We're going to continue to do that. Just what are all the new features we added, give you guys an idea of what's coming in the roadmap, stuff like that. We've got a lot of new things coming that we're working on. So we will cover those next month, and you can always reach out to us in between as well. Like I said, we love to hear your suggestions. So all right, so I'm going to wrap up. Any questions that we didn't cover here, let us know. Contact me at Don at GetFiveStars, or contact support at GetFiveStars.com, which is best because we've got a whole team of people monitoring that one. Mike is mentioning, when is the revised editor shipping? Basically, the revised email editor, the visual email editor I showed you, is done. We're fixing two things that we found in our testing, little quirks, and as soon as those are fixed, then it's going to go out. So I'm going to say within the next week, probably sooner than that, but you just never know software, so give ourselves a couple of extra days, but it'll be soon. All right, well, thanks everybody. I appreciate you being here, and I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.